Hello and welcome to another game of Company of Heroes. I am Fancy Josh, and today we have a game between killert155 as the Wehrmacht and Bertruger as the British Army. I have seen both of these players play in the past, both very high-level players. Bertruger is currently 34th as the British Army. He's also very highly rated as all of the other armies. killert155, on the other hand, is 81st as Wehrmacht, and he seems to exclusively play Germans. killert is from Canada, and Bertruger is from Russia. So let's see what these players can bring. Let's take a quick look at the mini-map here so I can sort of talk about this map. Amity airfields, doesn't matter. Airfields. Big open map with this railway running right through the middle. A few critical cutoff points. This one here, and likewise this one here, connect you to your close munitions point. There's also this point here along the road that does this weird U shape around and connects you to the fuel in the corner there. A lot of times it's actually easier to go for your opponent's fuel, and the cutoff point is fairly easy to take, so we're likely to see players make some aggressive plays against these particular points, as well as just straight up going for their opponent's fuel and stealing it away. Both players opening standard. Bertruger has opened with 3 Tommy squads, whereas our Wehrmacht player has opened with a heavy machine gun into 2 Volksgrenadier squads. Nothing unusual yet, and our British player is adding on a universal carrier right now. Like the placement of this heavy machine gun, that's going to prevent any Tommy squads from getting in here and potentially stealing this point away from him. He's prioritizing capturing one side of the map, and the British player is smartly getting out of there with that squad so they don't get suppressed as well. This squad even might be able to make it out of there. Nope, barely didn't make it. British player setting up sandbags here to give himself cover. British units, particularly Tommies, fight better in cover. They gain additional bonuses just by standing in cover. As I talk about every game, cover in this game is directional, so you have to have the cover between you and the bullets, but British units get a bonus for firing well in cover, regardless of the direction of the cover. It's going to be a split map to start this game off. Each player controlling their fuel and munitions points. And actually the German player has managed to capture more of the victory points to start us off here. I guess they're even. Never mind. I think he's going to capture that last point now. Yeah, he is. A little bit of a skirmish here. German player dictating the flow of this game so far with this heavy machine gun and pushing away those Tommy squads on the right side. This universal carrier has already been upgraded to have a Vickers heavy machine gun, so it can no longer carry units, but it is more effective against infantry, and we already see the German player decapturing this cutoff point, already denying his opponent fuel. Let's talk about the commander while we have a brief moment here. The British player has gone for the Vanguard deployment. Commander gives him access to raid operations. It's an active ability that lets his units and his vehicles capture points really quickly. Gets a logistics glider, which can essentially be a forward reinforcement point, but it's super easy to destroy. It can be destroyed by small arms fire. Often players will call it into their base or very nearby their base so that they can defend it. And that glider comes with a commander squad, I believe. Commando squad, that is. Not sure if it does or not. I know there is a commander ability that does call in commandos in a glider. I don't know if it's this one or not. But this thing can also call in additional weapons and units. Also gets access to the vehicle repair ability, costs munitions, heals up the vehicle without needing a squad to repair it. Also get this Crocodile. Crocodile is a flamethrower tank. It also has a relatively small main gun on it that is effective against armor, but it's not very effective against some of the large armor tanks that German can bring to bear. Finally, they get the strafing support. Calls in 2 airplanes that cover a large area for a significant period of time, and they shoot anything in the affected area. The effect is quite large. Great for following up on an assault or potentially dissuading your opponent from moving in on you. This heavy machine gun still set up on the right side, already VAT 1. We saw the British player actually decaptured the German player's cutoff point, so he denied the German fuel for a short period there. Looks like the German is going to return the favor by capturing away the fuel from his opponent. Vickers machine gun trying to take on this heavy machine gun. I don't think that's going to work out for him just because this unit's in heavy cover. And those heavy machine guns are effective against the light armor of that universal carrier. Skirmishes all over the map. Both armies are fairly effective at long range. Fights will often be decided by cover or numbers. In this case, continuing to be annoying with this universal carrier. Actually killing a bunch of those Pioneer squad. When your units are building or repairing, they take increased damage and they're easier to hit. And we saw that there. The Pioneers were building the sandbag. That universal carrier caught them with their pants down and killed 2 of them almost immediately. German player definitely has an advantage at this stage in the game. He's been able to capture away his opponent's fuel point, or at least decapture it, denying him that fuel, and he's also been able to control most of the victory points for the start of this game. Already drained 100 points off of his opponent. German players added on these Panzer Grenadiers. These things are effective at medium and short range, and as we saw there, they just ran right up into that Tommy squad and absolutely shredded them at point-blank range. Tommy's smartly getting out of there so they don't lose more squad members than they have to. British player extending himself on this left side, sort of leaving his points undefended. That's a grenade. Oh, that's unlucky. That is unlucky for the British player. You don't often see those grenades wipe a squad. They sometimes do, especially if they're all clustered up in cover like that. But that was still unlucky. German player closing the gap with these Grenadiers, negating that cover by going around it. Vickers moving in to help a little bit. I think this thing just upgraded to armor-piercing rounds, so this thing's got to be really careful. Man, he just barely has the angle on this heavy machine gun. Wow, he actually wiped it. That's impressive. He clearly knows the limits of that vehicle. Unfortunately for him, the heavy machine gun squad just picks it right back up again. The squad was firing armor-piercing rounds, and if it had been allowed to fire a volley at this universal carrier, that would have been a dead universal carrier. British player adding on a armored car here. This thing is not terribly effective against infantry. I mean, we just saw it wipe a squad, so maybe I should take that back. But it's, I would say it's better against light armor. But we'll often see players add it on because it's fast. It gives you that presence on the map. So, nice add. He's actually stealing away the heavy machine gun from the German player. Nicely done. Grenade incoming. Didn't wipe the squad. That's more what I expect from a grenade. Does heavy damage, maybe kills one model, but a squad wipe is unlikely. And I think he's going to get away. Just barely. Being annoying with this armored car, our German player is going to have to add on a anti-tank gun. He doesn't quite have the manpower for it yet. He's threatening this armored car with these Grenadiers. They have a Panzerfaust ability that does damage to and snares vehicles. It damages their engines, makes them move slower. So he was just trying to push that armored car back, and unfortunately for him, he didn't get it. So, oh, careful there. Nice. So, our British player actually lost. We saw him lose a Tommy squad, but he still has 4, and he's added on a medic squad to heal those squads up. He's got a Royal Engineer squad to potentially put down some emplacements or mines, and he managed to steal away that heavy machine gun, so things are looking pretty good for him. I know he's behind on victory points, and he is he's slightly behind in the fuel race to get up to those higher technologies, but he is definitely not doing bad, and he's in a comfortable position, I would say. Our German player, on the other hand, is teching up to Tier 3, Battle Phase 2, which I consider Tier 3, gives him access to his medium tanks. I'm probably going to just see him rush for a medium tank. He's actually choosing to add on a heavy machine gun instead of an AT gun. I guess he's more worried about the infantry than he is about this armored car. I think that's okay. We'll see how it works out for him. Looks like he also barbed wired off this point so that the British player has a hard time sneaking in there and capturing points. Both players doing everything they can to make their opponents' lives more difficult. And the British player is going to get definitive control of the center here. He's going to have this heavy cover to shoot from if he wants to. He's got that heavy machine gun that he stole backing him up. And German player managing to hold both field points for a little bit there, but just swapping them back and forth, and as you can see, the fuel income is identical right now. Yep. And actually their munitions income is identical as well, because they control the same amount of territory. Looks like our British player he has added on the 5-man squads. That's an upgrade you can get, which increases your maximum squad size from 4 to 5, giving this unit more damage, more staying power. You can fight for longer because there's more models to live. Nice grenade by those Tommies, and he actually wiped a second heavy machine gun squad, and I think he's going to steal this one away as well. Wow, that is starting to add up for our German player. That said, our German player is adding on his Panzer IV right now. So that's going to give, he has won the medium tank race, partly because our British player went for light vehicles, but that's alright. As we saw there, the British player threw a grenade, so he has teched into grenades as well. Those can be very, very dangerous. So I expect once this tank gets on the field, we're going to see our British player add his own medium, either an AT gun, probably an AT gun. I don't think he has enough fuel to get up to his medium tanks just yet. But look at that map, all red. I mean, the British player has control of both major fuel points right now. That is a big deal. That's going to accelerate him into those medium tanks right now. But that's the advantage of this armored car and this high veterancy universal carrier. But their reign will be over soon once this Panzer IV gets involved. He's actually just using it to stop this push from happening. I think he really wants to get into that armored car, but the armored car and universal carrier are getting the heck out of there because they stand no chance against this medium tank. Chasing down those Royal Engineers. Might even push into this heavy machine gun, armored car, trying to deter this from happening. Now, as you can see, the armored car does do reasonable damage to this Panzer IV, and that Panzer IV is out for blood right now. Attacking ground through that hedge, it did not have vision through that bush. You can only shoot with direct line of sight, but he attacked ground through the bush. Way less accurate, even if you know exactly where your opponent's vehicle is. But it was a nice try nonetheless. German player going to take back his fuel at the same time he's denying his opponent fuel on the left side. Big push on this right side to stop that from happening. And there's the AT gun coming in from the British player. He needs a way to deal with this medium armor until he can get his own tanks out. like this tank coming in here to support his infantry there. That was an unfortunate miss for the tank there. He really wanted to kill that universal carrier. And it looks like that universal carrier is going to get out of there. I don't think this... Oh, he stopped microwaving it. Now it's definitely dead. I mean, he's microing all over the map, so that's bound to happen. Bound to happen. Now, I wonder if our British player has gone up to... He still has not teched up. And nice wipe of that heavy machine gun. Hopefully he's got an infantry squad nearby to come in there and steal it away. I don't think that he does. A couple good shots by that AT gun driving away this tank. Now this armored car is picking a fight, and he might actually win it. He's going to need a bounce here. Nice smoke grenade. Attack ground through the smoke grenade. As soon as that grenade was in the air, that vision was denied for both players, but he attacked ground out of the smoke to try and get a kill there. And unfortunately for him, he missed. Great use of that armored car. He knows the limits of that vehicle. Trying to try and snipe that tank with that vehicle. That would have been a big deal if that German player had lost his tank there. Fortunately for him, he got out of there. Yeah, so I'm surprised we still have not seen our British player tech up, and he's teching up right now as I say that. So he's going to have access to his medium tanks pretty soon. He still doesn't have the fuel for it, but he will relatively soon. Our German player, on the other hand, is actually suffering pretty badly on capturing fuel points, so he's going to have some pretty low income right now. He's about 4 or 5 minutes away, probably a little less than that, away from another Panzer IV. I think that's probably what he wants to go for, given this is a low fuel game for him. He can't wait multiple minutes for another medium tank. Potentially, we'll see how he wants to play it out. These Royal Engineers have been upgraded with 2 Piat launchers, which makes them pretty effective against armor. I don't really like that weapon. It just doesn't feel very good when you're using it. It tends to miss a lot. But that said, if a tank cannot sit there and just fight those Piat launchers, because it'll just gradually tick away its health. So moving his tank into this point here so that he can repair it and capture the point with the Pioneer squad at the same time. And wow, our British player has all 3 victory points. He's benefited tremendously from having these heavy machine guns. I mean, he didn't even have to build them. That's 260 manpower worth of machine guns each, so more than 500, which is feeling really good for him. That Volksgrenadier squad's gonna have to get out of there, and he does.
The enemy's in trouble.
Continuing to be a nuisance with this Panzer IV. I mean, he has to do that. Unfortunately for him, the British player knew that his tank was over here and that something like this might happen, so he already has that anti-tank gun in position to deal with it. Panzer IV intelligently sneaking just outside the range of the AT gun, getting a bunch of kills. And we just saw a heavy machine gun go down from the British player there. He looks like he died on retreat, potentially.
The ability is ready.
German doesn't really have any units in range to capture it just yet. We might see a fight for it. And wow, the scout car is going to kill this tank. All bounce off the front armor. The German player is blitzing, so there is a chance he gets out of here. When you're blitzing like this, vehicles are way less accurate against you. As you can see, he's missing even at point-blank range. That's the end of the blitz there, and the scout car gets a penetration on the front armor there and kills the tank. Nicely done. Really nicely done by the British player. Again, knowing the absolute limits of the scout car and getting everything that he needs from it.
Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of our points.
Our German player is not feeling good after that. But I think he's not out of this game yet. As we can see, he's adding on a Panther. I believe that's the Panzer 4 command tank, this one here. Oh, just kidding, it's a more heavily armored version of the tank. That's actually the default tank that's available to the OKW. So it has those armored skirts, which is actually going to be really effective against that armored car. Armored skirts on the side of the vehicle increase the likelihood of bounces off of the side armor. Our British player is teched up to his anvil tech here. That's this thing, gives him access to combat tanks, bigger grenades. He can track vehicles, and it also lets him overcharge the engine of his vehicles. If he uses a Royal Engineer squad to repair a tank that's already at full health, the tank will get essentially a blitz, as we saw that Panzer IV do, where it basically drives extremely quickly. It's hard to hit while it's doing that. Lets you get out of a bad situation, potentially. So we'll very likely see him do that. I expect that our British player is just going to save up for that combat tank. He has nearly enough fuel, and I think it's 500 manpower. Oh, yeah, 480. So he's going to have enough manpower very shortly, and he will have enough fuel in about 2 minutes. Less than that, 1 minute even. This Panzer IV is on the hunt for this armored car. I think this tank's about to drive into the base there. Maybe not, might just wipe this Royal Engineers on retreat. And British player backing up because he knows this is coming. I really like to see him wipe that squad. And this is, I really like this move by the German player. He's got, he knows he still has the armor advantage because the British player is saving up for that combat tank. And this AT gun can't really chase this tank. I mean, it can get in position for a shot or two, but then it has to leave. And wow, we went from an all-red map to an all-blue map. The German player has done a great job with his 2 tanks. Despite losing one of them, he did get a significant advantage from having it on the field. He's able to capture a bunch of territory. He has both field points right now. Actually, he doesn't have this one on the left, but more importantly, he's denying it to his opponent, so I don't mind him not capturing that. Our British player should have enough fuel now. Yes, he does, so I expect we're going to see him out on a combat tank here. It's possible he's saving for this crocodile, but no, he's adding on that combat tank now. Crocodile is a really niche tank. I mean, it's fantastic against infantry, and it also has a ton of health and a ton of armor. It's not easy for German armor to kill. It's sort of a wet noodle fight where it can't damage enemy tanks, and enemy tanks have a hard time damaging it.
We're losing a capture point.
Great damage sponge. We might see him want to add one on after he adds on this combat tank. He'll add on the combat tank for that mobility and that damage, and then we might see him follow up with a crocodile. Or we might see him just add on another combat tank. Combat tank is very popular because of how agile it is and how much damage it does. Its major weakness is that it doesn't have a lot of health, so if it does, you know, take those hits, it's not going to be able to sustain the fight very long. Curious where he's going to bring this in. And I mean, while all this is happening, the British player has maintained his map domination right now. So, looks like the combat tank has added on a commander on top of it. It's going to give him increased sight range. Panzer IV continuing to be annoying. British player pushing out on the map here, capturing a bit of territory. Still using his armored car, being active with this, that's really important. Just because there is something that can outgun this armored car doesn't mean he should stop using it. We just saw a bounce off the front armor from this Panzer IV. This Panzer IV is probably in trouble. That was an important miss. Good hit there, but I think this might be a dead Panzer IV. Okay, another important bounce, and I think we're going to see both players back away from each other. It's all the shells bouncing off of each other. Now, this German player has not built any AT guns all game. He does have the manpower for it. I think he should add on 2 of them. He needs... I mean, one at the minimum, and maybe a second one, because he really needs a safe place to run away with this Panzer IV. I mean, we saw him lose his previous Panzer IV early in the game. The Comet just hit a mine, so the German player's been planting mines after he gained all that map control, and he planted a bunch of mines before he left to make his opponent's job that much harder to take back. MG fight here. Looks like that machine gun from the British player is just barely going to get out of there. Yeah, and you know, like I said, I'm surprised that he hasn't added on those AT guns yet, the German player that is, because, I mean, he's in a place where he needs them now. He has the manpower, and he also likes, I mean, he's built 2 heavy machine guns, and heavy machine guns and anti-tank guns support each other really effectively. They cover each other's weaknesses in a big way, so I'm really surprised we haven't seen him add that on yet. Now that said, the German has chosen his commander. He chose it a while ago, which is actually what this, big wipe on that Tommy squad there. He's actually going to steal away this light machine gun there. That's really important to improving this squad's effectiveness against infantry. That's an unfortunate loss for a British player. Nice kill by the Panzer IV. So yeah, as I was saying, he gets his commander gives him access to these assault grenadiers, which he's not using, but they're a close-range squad that can throw grenades. He's got this Panzer IV with the side skirt armor there, giving it a bit of extra defense. He gets access to these breakthrough packages, which I think lets his Panzer Grenadiers use smoke and regular ammo, and this is a dead tank for sure. Even despite that bounce, this is a dead tank. Yep. That said, our German did wipe a squad somewhere. It looks like it was another Tommy squad he was able to wipe. So we're in an interesting situation where the German has significantly better infantry right now, but he has no armor, and he's got to deal with all these tanks. And he really, really needs anti-tank options. In fact, he has literally 0 anti-tank options right now. He could upgrade his Panzer Grenadiers to be able to deal with armor, but I don't think he's interested in that. He really, really needs AT guns. What he might be doing is saving up for his Tiger Ace. So he has 200 fuel, and the only reason to save up that much fuel at this stage in the game is to get a really, really big tank. So I think that's what we're going to see him add on. We'll see if he makes it that far without any AT. I mean, even if he's getting that Tiger Ace, I really think he should add on an AT gun. I think the British player has started to realize that this German player just refuses to build AT guns, and he's abusing it by following squads into areas that he shouldn't feel comfortable going into, because if there's an AT gun waiting for him, he's going to have a bad time. Still a very, very even game. Victory points are exactly even. Fuel is very close. Munitions very close. So this game is far from over as it stands right now. But I would say it is on a knife's edge for our German player while he gets up to this Tiger Ace. He's clearly spending a lot of his focus on keeping his squads alive, staying active on the map. You know, this is kind of interesting. You don't see players add on fuel caches or ammunition caches very often. What it does is it increases the output of a particular sector. In that case, that was a fuel cache, which was increasing his fuel per minute by 3. And he did have a ton of manpower, so I don't mind him adding that on. But as we saw, they're very susceptible to tanks, or really any sort of AT fire there. You can't really kill them with small arms fire, though. Continuing to brawl it out for this middle point. We've seen these players trade that point back and forth multiple times. Another nice mine by the German player, catching that Comet tank. As you saw there, it literally drained half of that thing's health in one go. And in fact, I think this armored car also hit a mine somewhere. So those mines are paying out big for our German player, and there is the Tiger Ace. So this thing starts at Veterancy 1. I do believe that it has the same upgrades as other Tiger Aces. I think it has different stats, though, like different base stats. It used to be this thing started at Veterancy 3, but they nerfed it. Still a really, really solid tank. This tank is fast for its size. It's got a ton of side and front armor. We just saw a anti-tank gun shell bounce right off the front armor there. I believe the penetration rate on this thing is about 1 in every 3 shots. And here comes the air support, strafing support from the British player. That's off his commander. Now this is only effective, so it's effective in this entire circle, but the British player has to have vision of the area in order for it to fire. So by backing out of that, being out of vision of his opponent, he's doing okay. As you can see, those pioneers were in the circle, and this infantry section moved in and provided vision. This Folks Grenadier squad's going to have to be really careful. They are also in the circle, and I think we're about to see him get strafed here. Now, this ability lasts for like a full 60 seconds, I believe, which is a long time in terms of an ability. There's the strafing support killing 2 of those squad members on retreat. Nice call in there, prevented that Tiger tank from rolling in and just totally decimating everything from the British player. British player's responding by adding in a Firefly. I think that's a great choice here. Firefly is a tank destroyer. It's a bit of a glass cannon. Its armor is pretty much useless. It doesn't have very much health, but it has really long range, and it's got one heck of a gun. It can also be upgraded with these 60-pound tulip rockets. So it can do like a 1-2-3 punch, where it fires the main gun and follows up with 2 rockets. The rockets are fairly inaccurate, but against large targets like this Tiger tank, they are going to be reasonably effective. You know, something I didn't talk about this Tiger tank is it is actually very effective against infantry as well as tanks. Its rounds are like explosive. You can see it there. That was the Firefly. Just look at the range on that thing. Holy cow. You can just shoot so far away. Looks like he's chasing just a little bit. He's thinking about it. It's incredibly dangerous to move up with this Firefly. You need to leverage its extreme range in order to get the most out of it, because if you move up with the unit, you are very, very likely to lose it. You know, I was saying that I like this Firefly ad. I'm a little surprised it didn't add a second Comet. 2 Comet tanks can take on a Tiger. They can use their superior mobility to get around behind it, dodge its main turret, get on that soft rear armor. And because this German player is not building any AT units, the Tiger is basically all alone in terms of its anti-tank capabilities. But our British player doesn't necessarily know that. He may have put it together that the German player is literally not building AT guns, but it doesn't look like he has. I think we might see our German player follow up with a Panther tank here. He may elect to go for a Panzer IV, but I think that might be a mistake. And actually, this might be a dead Tiger here. He pushed up too far without support. Here's the Comet tank getting behind the Tiger there, getting big shots on that rear armor, and that is definitely a dead Tiger. Oh, but it's blitzing. It might live. Nope. Yeah, so he actually used the cripple. He crippled the vehicle by targeting the treads on that tank, so it was moving slowly. The Firefly was in position to get some good shots there, and he got in with that Comet tank in behind the Tiger tank. And that may very well be the end of the game. Losing that Tiger tank, he cannot replace it. Well, maybe he can. It used to be that you could not replace that vehicle. But I think they may have changed this commander. And there goes our German player after the loss of that Tiger tank. So I mean, he was, you know, I've been saying it for the last 10 minutes that our German player really needed to add on AT guns, even one. I mean, even one would have given him decent control of this game. he's got an absolute ton of manpower here. It's possible he's not comfortable with microing multiple squads at once. And a lot of, this is not an unusual thing to see. What I will say is if you find yourself in this position in your games, throw in some support weapons. Just add on some mortars, add on some AT guns. Just fill out your army a little bit, because if we look at the Germans' composition, he's got an incredibly strong infantry corps there. He's got some nice heavy machine guns that are also starting to vet up, and he's doing a great job controlling them. Let's say he just adds on a mortar, sort of gets a little bit of additional firepower, throughout the map. You don't have to micro it very much. You can micro it if you have the APM for it, but you don't have to. Add in some AT guns. AT guns are relatively easy to micro. You just sort of put them in a spot where you know that the enemy tanks might be coming from. You can even put 2 of them on the same hotkey and just line them up like that. But I think there was a lot that our German could have done different here to win this game, and he's currently ahead on victory points, and he has 2 of them. So, and he's played scrappy the whole game. I mean, he's had no armor. He's lost so many tanks, but he's kept all his infantry alive, and he's been capturing the map because of it. So, not surprised, but also surprised to see him leave here. I think he had a lot of options at his disposal. On the other side, really nicely played by Bertruger. I expect nothing less from our 34th in the world player here. He did a great job fighting for control of the map, keeping his armor alive. I mean, veterancy 2 and 3, and he kept that universal carrier alive, so great vehicle micro by him. Hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I did, and I will see you in the next video.